Well, Lord Coe joins me in the studio now. Now, I've been looking about what people have been writing about you in the last few months, and you're seen as a bit of a national hero now, post-London 2012. So do you feel like one after all of the work that you've put in?
No, I'm just very pleased that particularly Londoners feel that, we did a good job. We're not here to mark our own homework, but I do think it had big impression on people in this city, and I was just really happy to be part of a successful team. And goodness me, hundreds of thousands of Londoners contributed to the games, whether as games makers or torch bearers or people working in the boroughs. I have a mountainous debt of gratitude to the generosity of spirit of Londoners.
But with such a huge project, it clearly can't be 100% perfect. And as Simon mentioned there, the kerfuffle regarding the allocation of seats, and when we were watching some of the games, there were so many empty seats. It wasn't a great impression.
Well,
really.
There weren't actually so many empty seats.
Well, I had a look at one point. There were about 120,000 seats that were left available across all of the venues, including the
As those seats became available, we of course made them available to the British public. 75% of those seats were in the hands of the British public. I don't think anybody that were in our stadiums could remotely have said that there were empty seats. The comment that was made a few moments ago was about accredited seats.
Yes,
and they weren't out of the public allocation, and therefore National Olympic Committees, some are for athletes that want to sit in and watch the competition.
I do completely understand what you're saying, but from a viewer's point of view, when you're sat and you're watching these events happening and the spirit that was in London at that point, and you felt that you wanted to be a part of that and you couldn't get tickets, and then suddenly behind some of the games you see these empty seats. You can understand that animosity.
And you're right, there were a few accredited seats at the beginning of the process because people were trying to understand. If you're the president of a National Olympic Committee and somebody says to you, where are you going to be at 11 o'clock on the first or second or even third day of the Games, you're going to say, well, it depends whether my hurdlers made it through to the second round, my team has progressed through. They make judgments. So those seats were permanently in use. But yes, it was very easy to train a camera onto a clutch of seats. So you can understand
why sometimes people
Yes, I can, and that's why we were so keen to make sure that where we could, those seats were actually sold to often many Londoners, particularly people living in the boroughs that were able to get there quite quickly.
So let's move on to legacy now. And of course, you're keeping across that in your new role. So tell us where we stand regarding the stadium, because there was some information that was released just before the weekend saying it may not be in full use until 2015.
Well, let me be clear. My legacy role is one as an ambassador. It is to work alongside a cabinet team to make sure that, particularly in government and more broadly in sports organisations and organisations out there that can actually help us deliver on legacy, that we have a coherent plan going forward. My responsibility is actually not the settlement of the stadium, but I think the Mayor is absolutely right to make sure that any decisions that are made about the stadium are decisions that are long-lasting. And rather than to sort of cram that into an artificial time frame, we want people, we've got the
World Athletics... You want to make sure it's right.
It has to be right.
Absolutely.
And we've got the World Athletics Championships coming here in 2017. That's the third largest sporting event in the world, and a lot of sport that will be in the Olympic Park, but making sure that we have the right people and the right tenants in place, and those sporting events is really vital.
Now, in your autobiography, you talk about the sleepless nights that you had during the course of the Games, because, everyone was fearful that something may well happen regarding a terror attack. What were those moments like for you?
I think that I wouldn't want to overstate that, but I think I had to be, I often got asked the question, what is it that keeps you awake at night? And very little in the project, because, just the extraordinary nature of the teams and the people that were working. But I think we all recognise that, in the middle of a Games that was clearly engaging a large part of the population, people were very excited, they were watching great sport, that I just wanted people to be able to enjoy it, to remember it for the rest of their lives, and yes, to go home, not just to homes in London or throughout the UK, but to the hundreds of thousands of people that we were hosting from around the world, that we needed them to go home safe, having had a wonderful experience.
So would you say it was a success for you in that case?
I think that, I tend not to overcomplicate these things. For me, it was very, very important that we delivered for the athletes. The athletes felt that the village they went to was the best village they'd been to. They felt that they were able. I've competed, you know, many years ago. I know what it's like to be in competition. It was very important.
Very quickly, yes or no in that
I think that the Games, we set out with a very clear vision. I think we delivered against that vision with the support of millions of other people. I will let others make judgments, but I think that the people that mattered, particularly the athletes and spectators, felt they had an extraordinary experience.
OK, well, OK, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Terror suspect Abu Qatada has won his appeal against extradition to Jordan and he'll be released on bail tomorrow. The London-based Muslim cleric was convicted of terror charges in his absence in Jordan in 1999. Since then, the government has tried to deport him. The Home Secretary said today that the government will appeal this latest decision. Toby Sadler has the full story.